Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Happy Father's Day. What a great day to talk about bastards on Game of Thrones. We have Battle of the Bastards coming tonight, so I'm going to talk all about bastards in Game of Thrones. Just careful for spoilers for everything that's happened on the show so far. The idea of bastards, what makes a bastard, is actually pretty simple. A bastard is any child born out of wedlock, so it doesn't matter if your father was a prince, if your mother was Lyanna Stark, or if your father's hot pie. A bastard is still a bastard, but not all bastards are created equal. As we know, people with king's blood, bastards with king's blood, much more magical than regular bastards. The other common denominator uniting all bastards is that they're not allowed to inherit property from their father unless there is no one else in the line of succession. So a lot of you are asking, does that mean that Gendry could ascend to the Iron Throne given that Tommen is an illegitimate child? Technically, yes, but there would probably be open revolt in the streets, and the other nobles of the realm might not support it. So they might bring arms against the crown. Varys actually said this really important thing when he was telling Tyrion about the Targaryen restoration, this grand new purpose, trying to put Daenerys on the throne. He said that a good leader would be someone with a good name and someone who the people would love. So the big problem Gendry has is one of awareness. People don't really know he exists, so if he were to surface and say, "I'm Robert's bastard," there would be years and years of deliberation that would probably descend into another civil war. So bastards can be very important, and I'll talk about the Blackfyre Rebellion in a little bit, which was a giant Targaryen bastard rebellion. So here are all the bastards for the realm. In the Crown Lands, any bastards, even royal bastards, are called waters. In Dorne, they're called sand, like the sand snakes. In the Iron Islands, they're called pike. In the north, they're all called snow, like Jon Snow, Ramsay Snow. In the Reach, they're called flowers. In the Riverlands, they're called rivers. In the Stormlands, they're called Storm, like Edric Storm from the books, who was cut out by the show. In the Vale, they're called Stone, and in the Westerlands, they're called Hill. So if you really wanted to get technical, Tommen's last name would be Hill. But there are one or two ways that you can get a different last name as a bastard. So one, it depends on who your father is. Two, it depends on where you're born. So the father typically has naming rights. So Ned Stark discovers R plus L equals J, sees Jon Snow. He's born near Dorne, so you could call him Sand if you wanted to, but because he's born to a Targaryen who lives in the Crown Lands, you could call him Waters if you wanted to, but Ned Stark obviously takes him in and passes him off as his own bastard, and he's from the north, so he calls him Snow. So Jon Snow could have had one of any three last names unless he'd been legitimized and would have gotten the Targaryen name. So how do bastards get legitimized? Ramsay Snow was legitimized, now he's Ramsay Bolton. That can only be done by royal decree. So Roose Bolton at the end of season 4 got a royal decree from the crown to name Ramsay his legitimate heir. So Ramsay would then be able to go around calling himself Ramsay Bolton. But here's a really interesting idea. If Jon Snow is the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, why did Rhaegar not legitimize Jon Snow immediately? Why didn't he prepare for that? Well, one of the problems with that is that he would have had to go to the Mad King to get that royal decree, and the Mad King was genuinely insane and embroiled in a giant civil war. So if Jon Snow is one of the two who may have been promised by a prophecy, it's important to keep them secret. So even if Rhaegar Targaryen had survived the Battle of the Trident, Robert hadn't killed him, he might have tried to keep Jon Snow on the DL. But Jon Snow isn't the only famous bastard in the history of Westeros. A lot of you have heard of the Blackfyre Rebellion. Blackfyre is a name with multiple meanings. So one, it's the name of House Blackfyre that was started by Daemon Blackfyre, one of the many bastards of Aegon IV. Blackfyre is also the name of the ancestral Valyrian blade that originally belonged to Aegon the Conqueror that was passed down as a sign of the right to rule. So what would happen is when an old Targaryen king was getting ready to die, or he selected a new candidate for successor, like if he had multiple sons, but he felt one son was better than the other for succeeding him, he would bestow on them Blackfyre, and that would be the outgoing king's way of telling the realm, this is your new king, bow to him. So Blackfyre, Bastard Rebellion, things get really nasty when a king has a lot of bastards. Robert had a lot in common with this situation wherein he had many bastards, but Joffrey and Cersei moved to suppress most of them, so most, but not all of Robert's bastards were killed. Aegon IV had many bastards that he legitimized on his deathbed, which is a big problem because you throw a whole bunch of people with a lot of followers and a lot of support into the line of succession. So a lot of Aegon's bastards became very popular. One of the most famous ones that we've actually met on the show is the Three-Eyed Raven. His real name is Brynden Rivers, but that's because he comes from the Riverlands. Aegon IV had many different bastards in many different parts of the realm, so not all of them had the same last name. But what happened is on his deathbed, as he legitimized all these people, he had given the sword Blackfyre to one of his bastards, Daemon Blackfyre, instead of his legitimate son. So you can see the problem. It causes this giant war where Daemon's like, I have the right to rule. It doesn't matter if I'm a bastard. I'm still the one destined to sit on the Iron Throne. So you have a big war, the Blackfyres are defeated, and then the sword Blackfyre gets carried over to the east with Daemon's successors. So there is a Targaryen ancestral blade out there somewhere that technically belongs to Daenerys. It'd be amazing if the show surfaced it, but I'm not expecting it. But tonight's episode, Battle of the Bastards, is very important for a number of different reasons. It's going to be the most amazing episode ever. It's the only episode this year that HBO has submitted for an Emmy in I think both the writing and directing categories, multiple different categories. Typically, episodes get submitted for Emmys in a single category, like Best Director, or Best Makeup, or Best Writing. This is one of the only episodes that HBO submitted for multiple, like the really big marquee Emmys. So as you can imagine, HBO feels like this is probably the strongest episode of the season. And as such, there will be a couple different storylines, so I'm hoping they touch on Jon Snow's parentage without fully explaining it. I'm expecting them to save a little something for the finale. I believe that the actor who plays young Ned Stark is going to be in the finale, so there'll be at least one more Bran flashback before the end of the season, hopefully resolving the Tower of Joy reveal. That would be a great reveal to go out on going into season 7. Like, oh my god, and I know a lot of you are wondering, is he going to pull multiple babies out of the tower? So I still believe R+L=J, but just keep your mind open. There could be any number of interpretations or changes that the show makes. Although this is one of those things that feels like the show would try to be very true to the books, like George R. Martin would have helped them with this big reveal. It almost feels like too big of a WTF reveal for the show to completely change the Jon Snow reveal from the books. So let me know in the comments, who is your favorite bastard on Game of Thrones? And while you guys think about that, quick reminder, there's a new round of the giveaway that's going on now. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. I'll remind everyone when I post my episode 9 video tonight. So get hype and happy Father's Day. Isn't it great that we got to celebrate Mother's Day and Father's Day in the same season of Game of Thrones? While you guys wait for my video to post tonight, you can click here for an R+L=J Tower of Joy refresher, and you can click here for my episode 8 video. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.